최상화도 봐봐. 지금 소소 최대 리숑. 지금은 전에 카유라 그 판도 예대보다디 시기 자 공정기 배디 바지 능수 동야기 탑시 일부 쳐버리디 딘 능수 조약 서로야 저불리 디가로 타나 사버레 돼야지 차대와 세브샤리.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Hindustan Times and my name is Aisha Varma. Over the last few weeks, the matter of succession of the Dalai Lama has proven to be a major bone of contention, particularly when it comes to China. The Dalai Lama turned 90 on July 6th, and in the lead up to his birthday, he made some crucial statements. To help us understand what's been said and what the latest developments mean, we would like to welcome Mr. Rajesh Raina, a former diplomat and a keen observer of Buddhist affairs.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. The Dalai Lama has clearly said that no one else can meddle in the matter of succession. What are the safeguards in place for this, and what happens if somebody does meddle?
Yes, it's a very historic announcement. It's a profound assertion by His Holiness Dalai Lama the 14th. He has made explicitly clear about the succession process. But before, why it is in discussion, we have to understand why reincarnation is in discussion. Why so many newspapers are talking about, why all of a sudden so many things are appearing in the form of article. Because I think there is a confusion.
Okay.
Because we are looking at through the prism of strategic or geopolitics or a political convenience, but not from the point of view of the cultural protection, the cultural identity of some Tibetan Buddhism. And the reincarnation is very intrinsic to that process, the Tibetan identity. So the Dalai Lama, how it has started, it was the reincarnation or the tulku, what we call the reincarnated lamas. We refer to them as tulku. It started in 13th century. It basically when the first Karmapa decided to reincarnate, and the second Karmapa in 13th century when he was recognized as the first reincarnation in this process. So this tulku system started, and it spread over all Himalayan region, including Tibet, including all the places wherever the Buddhism was followed at that time. And then it came also to the Dalai Lama institution. In the first Dalai Lama, or the first in the 14th century, the Gaden Drupa, who was the first Dalai Lama, who was basically the third Dalai Lama, was first given the title. And the first two Dalai Lamas were given this title retrospectively. Though when he became in 13th century Dalai Lama, then he decided, he was the founder of the Gelug school of the Tibetan Buddhism.
Yes.
He decided to reincarnate for the continuation of the spiritual message and the continuation of his work. So the second Gaden Gyaltso, who was the second Dalai Lama, when he was recognized at the age of 11. So then that was the first reincarnation in the Dalai Lama institution. And the major change happened when the third Dalai Lama came, Sonam Gyatso.
Okay.
At that time, when the Mughals at that time, when they saw that with the fall of the Tibetan Empire, there were many influential families or many people who started influencing the process of how to rule the Tibetan there. So then the Mughals, they found something very interesting in the Dalai Lamas and the spiritual leader, that they have a large following. See, they found that they are not only the spiritual leader, they are also keeping with them the moral authority to govern. And they have been also very helpful in producing sacred objects, deflecting some women, or protecting some local kings. So they found them also very interesting in their field. And then they saw some opportunity that if the political power is also associated with them, it will be easier for them.
Okay.
So the Sonam Gyatso, he was given the title of Dalai Lama. So this is the temporal power which was given to him to rule or as well as the spiritual leader, and both came to that congregation.
Okay.
So it is not intrinsic in the sense from the political power. It came from the third Dalai Lama. And if you go down the process, then the fifth Dalai Lama somewhere in the 17th century, he established the first Tibetan Gaden Fondreng government.
Okay.
Which is also known as the Tibetan
Yes.
government quarters. So that he was the first who made the integration of the political power as well as the spiritual power. So there it came a very clear role of the leadership of the Dalai Lama.
Okay.
So then this is slowly came into the existence of the spiritual power. It got integrated with that process. So since then, if you say that it is very deeply, the reverence is very deeply embedded in the consciousness of Tibetan Buddhism or Tibetan identity. The reverence of Dalai Lama is associated from centuries, and since historical times, it is inextricably interwoven with the Tibetan culture, identity, religion, or the political struggle.
Absolutely.
So reincarnation is completely embedded very closely with that.
Okay.
And that spiritual awareness, if you say that spiritual reverence that comes, it is a fine mix of both the moral authority, carrying the Buddha Dhamma, how to conduct yourself, and how to derive that continuation of the work. When you are in a society, like our kings used to be in the historic times, they used to be the avatar of the Vishnu, they used to give them that spiritual authority as well. To conduct the affair of the people, so that they can be a welfare, thinking about the welfare and conducting the spiritual ordination. So it is very much part of that ancient Indian wisdom.
Yes.
You can say that.
One of the statements that the Dalai Lama had made was that the successor will essentially be born out of China. That, of course, has political connotations to it. Explain the significance of that statement.
Again, I would request when we see it, differentiating it or separating it from the political or that, because most of the articles, I don't blame anyone, but most of the articles which are appearing, these are appearing from the Western media or the other experts, only discussing about the reincarnation in terms of the who is angry, who is happy, or how it makes a difference in geopolitical game. So it is not if you see His Holiness decision is very free from this political struggle. He has made it very clear. As far as back, if you go 1969,
yes.
He recalled that his statement in his announcement on 2nd June. He said at that time also the continuation of the Dalai Lama institution clearly depends on the will of the Tibetan or Buddhist, how they want it to be continued. So it was made then. And in 2011, he separated political power from the spiritual power. He created CTA, and the Sikyong was the first prime minister. At that time also, he said that when I will turn 90, I will take a decision depending on, after consulting my people or Buddhist people, essentially indicating that it is a spiritual role I am looking at. Because it is a reincarnation, if you see, it is first part of the reincarnation duty is to continue the work of the previous Dalai Lama. So that also depends, and whether that continuation of previous work is needed or not needed. He has given complete power to the people of Tibetan people, whether they want my work to be continued or not. Because in terms of he fled one place, he's no more in his own country, he's outside. So his leadership is also seen as identity with the Tibetan struggle. So he said after consulting only, then it depends on the will of the people and the Buddhist. And when he turned 90, he said that he given this duty to the Gaden Fondreng Trust. There are 3 trusts which are associated with His Holiness. One is the Gaden Fondreng Foundation, which is Zurich based, and Garden Fondering Trust, which is Dharamshala based, and Dalai Lama Trust, which is Delhi based. So he has given this specific power to the Garden Fondering Trust based in Dharamshala, which is 2011 or 15. Also, he made that they will be responsible for deciding the reincarnation procedure. They will be responsible for that. So he has been in continuation. It is consistent stand from 1969 till 2025. So what we see, because we are not connected with his discourses, we are not connected continuously with his philosophy. So we see it as a all of a sudden announcement, and the political world started comparing it with the political reality. Whereas he has made it only, he has given back spiritual authority of Tibetan Buddhism or the cultural identity back to the Tibetan people.
Do you think then, so what is the current thought actually in the Tibetan community, especially when we look at what's happening currently with the statements, with other statements that have come in from China as well? How does the Tibetan community feel about the fact that we could possibly, and you also let me know your perspective on the possibility of this, see a rival Dalai Lama named by China? So what is this going to mean for the future of Tibet itself?
There are two, if you notice, there are very two important part of his statement. One is that the sole authority of deciding about the reincarnation or identification of the reincarnated Lama is lies with the trust. And the second part, he said that the oath-bound dharma protectors who are constantly connected with the lineage of the Dalai Lama institution, they will consult them.
Okay.
So he has given the authority as well as the procedure, how it will be done. So this two, both consultations, which will make or decide the spiritual claim or the spiritual procedure, how it will be decided. If you see the past historical selection processes, it was till 8th Dalai Lama, they were selected through the Tibetan strict procedure, which contained like some omen, some dreams by high Dalai Lamas near the lake in Tibet, or when it is identified, and certain directions which are given by the every Dalai Lama before he passes away or he gives his, that is something which is very confidential to him.
Yes.
You see, the very altruistic motivation and the welfare or the compassion, these two combination decides the reincarnation part. Why they want to reincarnate? Because they want to continuation of the motivation of the dharma and the continuation of the work, and to give the message of compassion. If present His Holiness, if you see, he is on the path of Avilokiteshvara. He is the considered as the avatar or the reincarnation of the manifestation of the Avilokiteshvara. That is the god of or the bodhisattva, not the god, bodhisattva of compassion. So he is on the path of compassion. He has reached that stage of compassion leading to the enlightenment. So there are two necessities like Hindu philosophy of, you say, karma and sanskara, and the rebirth, it is centric to that. So one is the ordinary rebirth which seeks enlightenment, and one rebirth is with the specific purpose for the welfare, for the guidance, for the enlightenment. That is the Tulku avatar. So this, if someone wants to interfere externally, you cannot say that it was in the past, it was free of external pressure or the political interferences. The golden urn method, which was pronounced by China, it was introduced in 1792. But before this method of golden urn was invented, eighth Dalai Lamas were reincarnated without the
need
adoption
for that.
of golden urn. Even it was when it was invented, 8th and 9th. 9th was debated. 8th Dalai Lama was not subject to this golden urn method, and 10th was debated. Only 11th and 12th, two Dalai Lamas were subject to this golden urn method. It was also to please the Qing dynasty at that time, so that they also saw that some of the greedy families, they should not try to influence so that they have this acceptance through the or the stamp through the king or and the dynasty at that time. But that was not the sole criteria of selection. Selection criteria is procedure centric all the time. It is identified by the high lamas as per their dreams, as per their omens, as per the dream of the parents. And then once it is identified, then he is again subject to the identification of the items belong to the previous Dalai Lama. Like the present Dalai Lama, he identified previous Dalai Lama's stick, drum, and he also named one high lamas with his monastic name. So it clearly identified him, what was seen, because all are observable, they observe all these facts. But then this is empirical truth or the omen, it is subject to empirical experiment. So how this can be transferred to any political selection, it is not understandable. Because first is legitimacy, then is the acceptance, the spiritual, it is the free will. It is the, like, my aim and my reincarnation free will, which makes me decide how to reincarnate.
Exactly.
So how anyone else can be placed in that? Even if you try to make someone else, like in case of Panchal Lama, like in 1995, you see there is hardly any acceptability. Even if I can decide some spiritual guru, if he is not accepted by his own community, if that acceptability is not there. On the other hand, His Holiness, he is out of his country, he is traveling all around the world. He is revered as a champion for the compassion and human rights. If you see all the important movements, when he was born in 1935, in 1940, he was put into the process of teaching at the age of 6, monastic education. Then in 1950, at very early age, he was then seated as in his seat at the age of 15. And then 1959, he has to flee. So he has a lot of experience carrying with him with the spiritual as well as the dealing. He has seen so many head of states he has dealt with, and he has traveled all around the world. And the people, they respect him not because of he's a Buddhist only, or he's preaching the Tibetan Buddhism. No, people follow him because of his compassion. His ahimsa is very centric to his thought process. Compassion is very centric to his thought process. Human right is very centric to his thought process. That's why in 1989 he got Nobel Prize, and he continued with that. So if there was any possibility of having a second Dalai Lama, which you were asking, it would have been successful had it been experimented well with the Panchal Lama.
Okay.
That Panchal Lama is still inside, nobody knows him outside one place. He is not traveling outside. He is not accepted by Tibetan there. So it is just an academic exercise, if I can say.
So why do you think that China sees this entire matter of the Dalai Lama succession as such a threat, to the extent that they've also gone on to say that this is proving to be a thorn in the side of Indo-China relations?
See, these are again the political stance, which any country takes it. You must have seen the European countries, they have taken a stand in favor of His Holiness, that no one should interfere with the spiritual authority. And the US has also passed an act that they will be recognizing the one decided by His Holiness, the process decided by His Holiness. Third is the whatever is decided by the Tibetan people. And His Holiness has given the power to the Tibetan people. And according to that, he has given this trust. Now, this stand, if you have to see, the Indian responsibility is something very different.
Okay.
How the Tibetan Buddhism has traveled to Tibet. The first Buddhist monk, Sant Rikshikta, he was called by the then Trisong, the king or Tibetan king, to the Tibet, to see in 8th century, because Buddhism traveled to China in 4th century. And in Tibet, the Trisong Tibetan king, there must have been some debate. What is to be followed in Tibet Buddhism? So he called, they always look up to India for any interpretation or spiritual authority or the scriptural authority, whether because Buddha belonged to this land. The message went from here. So he rightly called someone Santarikshita from the Nalanda University, who was abbot of Nalanda University. He traveled to the king, and then he first time he gave him the Madhyamaka, the middle way approach message to the king. And he also established the Samaya, one monastic ordination, what you call, he established that. And he also gave him very important advice to invite Padam Sambhava, very important, Guru Rinpoche, who was also from the Nalanda University, Nalanda tradition.
Okay.
So he gave him advice to call him to the Tibet to establish Buddhism. So on the advice of Santarikshita, the king Trisong called also the Padam Sambhava to the Tibet. And then he was a tantric master. He used to fly. He used to do many things, like we have a tantric ordination. And then he also assimilated Buddhist philosophy with the Bon religion there. And he brought in the tantric impact to the Buddhist Tibetan Buddhism. The third monk, who was called by the same king, Trisong, Kamalshila, to the Tibet. He was the student of the Santarikshita, who was the first monk went. He was called because there was a great debate between the Chinese Buddhism and the Buddhism which was followed by from the Indian Nalanda tradition.
Yes.
This person Kamshila, and the Indian, the Chinese was Moyan. The Chinese Zen follower who was called there. So he introduced, Kamal Shila introduced this gradual approach to the enlightenment, which is based on the ethics, wisdom and meditation. So it was based on the gradual, very scholastic study and that approach. Whereas the Zen philosophy was of the sudden enlightenment based on intuition. So that debate happened between both of them. And Kamal Shila, he won the debate. That how the process is to be, the Indian monk won this debate, and the king Trisong, he officially accepted that the Indian Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism is the official Tibetan Buddhism of the Tibet. So this is how Indian connection, Nalanda tradition and this cultural aspect of thinking process of philosophy established in Tibetan Buddhism. That's how Dalai Lama, sometimes he says, I am son of India.
Yes.
So he recognized, he has taken refuge in India because it gives refuge to all the diversities, all the philosophical thought process, all the cultures. And he rightly thinks so, if the culture is protected, if identity is protected, and if culture is there, then this process of reverence, of spiritual reverence, because the purpose of life, whether it is here in ancient Indian wisdom or Nalanda tradition, is self-realization. That is the aim of life. So that is how the culture is very important. Reincarnation comes only to serve that purpose. So if there is a second Dalai Lama who doesn't serve this purpose, and now if you see the trust, now it is located in India, it cannot visit any other place in China to identify. And he has given only to the oath-bound Dharma protectors, these high lamas who will have visions, who will have certain process, which is very close. We should not try to imagine or guess, make a second guess to the procedure.
Okay.
Because it is very spiritual and very sacred and very sensitive to the Tibetan Buddhism.
Why exactly is it so important for the Dalai Lama to be connected with global leaders?
The global, he has set out a procedure or a process which is very spiritual. Now, why world needs Dalai Lama? That is the main other question. It is for the world to answer. Whether we want any spiritual authority to be decided by a bureaucratic or a political process. That world has to decide, because it will have large impact on other parts of the leadership. You have tomorrow you can say that the Italian government should select the Pope, through their government, or someone else should also follow the same process. So the world needs, because he is embodiment of compassion. He talks about the human right. He talks about philosophy. He talks about all the solution. He has a very scientific approach. He has established scientific labs in monasteries. And no one, I don't remember any spiritual leader who can claim who says that if you find anything in Buddhist scripture which is scientifically not valid or not proven, it has to be taken out from the scripture, however high that scripture may be.
Okay.
So that person with this scientific approach towards compassion or spiritualism, when he talks about that, I give you one small example. Once we called up on His Holiness and one team of with me, and they wanted to do some seminar. And the moment they said to him that His Holiness, we want to have a seminar on Buddhism. So he immediately stopped and he talked something in Tibetan to his aide, and he said, why Buddhism? Buddhism is a religion which is restricted to few people. Why not philosophy? Philosophy belongs to everyone. Dhamma belongs to everyone. It is open for everyone to follow. Religious is a choice. He said it's a choice of some people to become Buddhist. But it can benefit everyone to follow the philosophy. So he is talking about the benefit to the world. So world has to see that in this time of conflict, how much impact a one spiritual authority is making through compassion to the entire human race. And not only the sentient beings, is compassion towards animal, towards climate, towards human being, towards anyone. Even he treats his enemy like same, like he treats his own people. So the world needs someone like him. Is there someone like him who can make this impact on children? Because we have very different kind of education system. We have many kind of disputes going on based on many things, political differences, religious differences. But here is a person who is taller than anyone, whose whose philosophy is based on ahimsa, non-violence. And he inspires, and he's continuously inspiring so many people, so many leaders around the world, like Mahatma Gandhi, whether you talk about Nelson Mandela. So they are the tall figure who have come out as a, what you call as a spiritual leader for everyone, with religion or without religion. As far as His Holiness, I can see it doesn't make him a difference whether you call him a Buddhist or not a Buddhist. He calls himself as a simple Buddhist monk. That is his own identification. But if you see the people who are meeting him all over the world, are they Buddhist? No. So many children, so many schools, they visit him, and he says that I love children. How many children he inspires? So for humanity, we need Dalai Lama. We need him for the welfare of the world, purely for this world of compassion. Because without compassion, compassion is something when you put someone else before you. That is compassion. And this all problem starts when we don't put anyone else before us and we put only our interest first.
Absolutely.
So that is the authority. So we need the Dalai Lama for that reason. So that is a necessity of the world. The political necessity, it depends on the other people. He has set out the process. The procedure will continue. Now, India has a spiritual, or you say the cultural necessity, because our culture has spread all through Southeast Asia. If you see all the countries, whether it is Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Japan, Mongolia, and Central Asia, the Buddhist thought, when it was spread by the Kashmiri philosopher, Kashmiri Pandits. They took it to the Central Asian countries. Before 1860, there was no word like Hinduism or Buddhism. It was introduced by the British in the colonial for the administrative exigency.
Okay.
Before it was Sanatan Dharma. Buddha explained Sanatan Dharma. So he basically everything used to fall within the Sanatan Dharma. That is the eternal Dharma. the self-realization, walk on your path. The Buddha says that Devo Bhav means be your own light in self-realization. Walk your own path, which is very important. That's a part of our culture. Culture has gone to all the places, and in even if they have adopted another religion, still the Indian culture exists in Indonesia and in Thailand. The Indian deities or the Hindu deities, if you can, whether it is a Ganesha, Saraswati or Shivling, you can see them in Vietnam, Japan, everywhere. So they were the part of the culture because they were part of this philosophy which talks about the Vasudev Kutumbakam or Vishwaguru. So when we are taking the role of Vishwaguru, when we are taking that cultural role on ourselves, so it has become our duty to our forefathers or to our all saints in the past to protect that culture and that thinking process which talks about the welfare of entire humanity. So that is the responsibility lies with India to protect such spiritual leaders.
India is seen as a nation that safeguards Buddhism. When we talk about this, tell us more about the relevance of Buddhism in today's generation, today's age, and the impact it's had on India.
Buddhas, if you see, even our official, whether it's a Shoka Chakra, whether in our flag, whether it's a symbol of lion, is all taken from the Ashoka, who followed the Buddhist Dhamma. And the Dhamma, Ashoka played a greater role in the spreading of Buddha Dhamma. It was called Buddha Dhamma. You won't find anywhere this name Buddhism. It traveled, he sent his son, both children, to the Sri Lanka. Then from there it traveled to Vietnam and other places. Another is from Gandhara to Central Asia, to Central Asian countries, to Tibet, China, and Japan. So it crisscrossed all these ways, Buddha Dhamma. And Buddha Dhamma talks about what? Madhyamaka, the middle path. Middle path is not taking any extreme position. If I am on extreme left or I am on extreme right,
Yes.
that the problem is I don't see the other side.
Yes.
If I am on the middle way
Yes.
and the middle way approach, I can see the good and bad of both the sides. So that is the Madhyamaka. How Buddha said that when his first Dhammacakka Parvartan, when he said his first message, he said that the origin of dukh, suffering, is what? Craving, our attachment. Our attachment to anything, what we do, we get attached to that. And that develops craving for more and more. So that is the base or cause of our suffering. So how to then eliminate that suffering? Then he taught 4 noble truths, 8-fold path to follow, the Buddha Dhamma. How to follow in our day-to-day life. How to be away from craving, how to be away from this attachment, which is the base of suffering at all time, right from birth to death. We suffer from different kind of cravings. Like we talk about rag and dvesh, that is whether for it or not for it. So both positions are basically attachments. Detachment and attachments are both same. And one stage comes when I'm away from attachment also and detachment. I'm mere spectator to that. They said that is the Bodhisattva. When I'm away from these process of rag and dvesh. What was his last word? Buddha's last word before Mahaparinirvana was all conditioned things are subject to decay.
Okay.
Strive on the path of diligence. This was his last word. Anitya, everything is impermanent. The realization of walk your own path. Only through practice you can liberate yourself. Not by remembering scriptures or by only following. He said never, Buddha himself said that don't believe me unless you practice yourself. Question my all thought process. Whatever I have said, you question it. And just practice it and then believe it. So anitya. Everything is impermanent. That is the core message of Buddha. When you focus on that through ethics, through meditation, then wisdom. This is what it was Santariksha or Kamal Shila He suggested to the Tibetan king the gradual way of enlightenment,
Yes.
not the sudden way of enlightenment. And it is a practice through scholastic practice to gradually how you observe impermanence in everything.
Got it.
And it is for you to how do you observe impermanence without any influence. So that is the younger generation. I think they realize more on philosophy. And when you talk to them, it is good they question everything, which is a very good aspect. And I have a lot of faith in younger generation.
Mr. Raina, thank you so much for joining us, giving us all of that crucial insight and knowledge on the Dalai Lama, Tibetan tradition and philosophy in general.
Thank you very much. And I would like to say a few words about HT. We grew up with the HT Hindustan Times right from my childhood.
Yes.
We used to see the Hindustan Times, and we formatted this liberated point of view in life through the editorial columns of Hindustan Times. Thank you very
So
much.
good to know. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for having me here.
Absolutely.